Got it. Excellent. So what I did before, I had to check whether it was for kids or not.
Oh, okay.
And I checked no, and then apparently.
I'm gonna exit off of this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna mute that. So that's off. Now. Once. I'll find out how we turn chat off. We'll figure that out later, but right now we're streaming, which is what we want.
Yep.
Okay. Lori, can you hear us okay? She's connecting with audio. Lori, can you hear us okay?
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
Now I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I think we're good. I'm gonna go next door and just make sure
Okay.
everything's good.
We are live streaming
Awesome.
on YouTube.
Oh, wow, that's great. And have we got a connection going into the village website for that too?
Eventually, but first we got to see if how it works.
Okay,
We've had several test runs so far.
okay. And
But yeah,
did we,
once they're out there, we'll put a link to our channel.
okay, and do we have that on Facebook too? Because that'd be another good way to test it, because Facebook's really easy.
Well, we tried Facebook the other day and that didn't work,
Oh,
But-
really?
but YouTube did. So
Okay, well,
we got more work to do there.
okay, well, that's great. That's wonderful. I do have a comment, Dave, and I'm gonna tell you how I felt about it. When Devin did not include Jennifer, I think that was out of the vendor's realm. And I'm not sure why that happened, but it shouldn't have.
Well, it might have happened because I just asked them if we could meet. So I may have caused that inadvertently. And honestly, I didn't even think about including Jennifer because I really wanted to talk to him about how to set this stuff up.
Okay. Well, and she had been asking for an appointment with him for at least 2 months now, about 6 weeks, I would say it is. And he wasn't getting back to her. And I spoke to you about it when I met with you the last time. And anyways, I just want to bring that to your attention. I'm not real fond of what happened.
No, that's fair. And I will talk to Devin.
Okay. The thing I did was I've been real sick. So while I've been home, I've been able to do a few things. I set up a NISMA or to go to that conference. Does that needs to approve that? I just put it on my credit card. The one in May.
How much is it?
I can't remember offhand. It's 2 nights lodging at the Sagamore. You sent it to me. And then I want to say it's $275 for the courses.
If it's over $1,000 with the lodging and stuff, the board has to approve it.
Okay, well, we can do that at the next meeting. I don't think it is because they didn't take that much off my credit card.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll have Tracy put that on the agenda. I thought because you sent it, you wanted me to attend it, so I did.
Right. Just
I was-
information.
Right. I was trying to get in touch with, or I was trying to figure out what my schedule is going to be because I got a pretty tight April. So the other thing is the NICOM thing on their front page says that it was extended for till April 15th is in regard to being able to vote online, and it may be extended again. And so, but I'm going to be in Vermont the 17th for the hearing and everything. And I'd like to be able to put that up as the second location so that I can vote. Is that how that's done? And I just give Tracy the address,
Yep.
and McDonald's will work for Colchester, New York.
Why don't you send it to her in an email?
I will. I'll get that off later this afternoon. Got to babysit again. I could come down there. I just assumed this was a Zoom meeting. Have I got time yet?
Probably. Yeah, 6 minutes.
Whatever you want. I mean, you're fine. If you're sick, stay home.
I haven't been house in 6 days because of this cold. So,
You're probably best off where you are.
like,
Didn't get back to you in time?
He isn't, I don't even know if he's in his office. I called and left a message, and I left a message on his cell phone, and he hasn't even opened it, so.
really be there. Or she's calling in, I'm not sure which.
I don't know. I haven't heard from her. I would imagine she's on call after call after call like usual.
Yeah. I just all to the clean energy stuff. We might be able to get some pretty good grant money out of the NYSERDA grant for this. The heat pump. So that's something to take into consideration too. And I'll take more of a lead on it now that I have what I needed to get it. Once we've made the decision.
Say I couldn't get anything to print off at home. I'm at Business center at the hotel trying to get things to work, because I got a new phone and
Lori, that doesn't sound good.
It isn't.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And I'm better. It's been, I haven't had a cold in at least 5 years, I don't think. Took off my mask and got sick.
Do you have today off, bud? Or
no,
you just-
I just drove in. I told him, I says, I have a meeting, I'm leaving early, see you later. Which, some things are gonna change as of next week, most likely. I told him I'm not going back anymore. That might be a fixture for all of it.
It's a long commute.
Well, no, it's just. Things are things. You know?
Yep.
I don't want to say too much too soon.
Yep.
That's okay.
That's where our tapper caps.
Until we get a new one. We're getting a new one.
Which probably won't show up till May.
I got a 2019 grant box coming.
in July of this year. They want to deliver. It's like, you know. Sorry.
You're fine.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. All the trustees are here, but Jennifer. I
She
will let
says,
every-
she just texted me. She said, I'll be right there.
All right. I will
Oh,
let
we can-
everybody know this meeting's being live streamed on YouTube as well as it's on Zoom.
Okay.
Which was something we requested last meeting to figure out, and we got at least part of it figured out.
Cool.
So we have 4 quotes, 2 deal with the drywall and carpet and ceiling repairs, and 2 deal with heating and cooling. So why don't we start with the walls, ceilings, and floors? And the question I have about both of them is, there's a air conditioning unit in where a window used to be. Is that window being replaced? Does it exist and being put back together, or don't we know yet?
Well, that question,
Yeah, so I looked at it like.
that question was asked where that downstairs,
Yeah.
about where that big, and both of them asked, what are we doing there? And obviously I haven't had a chance to speak with the guys at the fire department, whether they want a window back or if they want to just block that in. I mean, one of the two, but it will be addressed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the windows themselves are in the spare room downstairs. Do you think those windows, out of that one window were downstairs in the spare room or something? I saw them someplace.
Yeah. It's the one in the game room we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, with the air conditioning systems now, we don't need that air conditioning in there. It just happens to be there.
Yep.
So you'd like a window back in there?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we have 2 quotes, one from All Around Home Improvement for $52,465, and one from RS Lindsay for $49,629.91. It's not completely clear to me that well, I know they're not like for like, because one is insulation at 7.5 and one is R13. But are they doing the same rest of the work?
Yes. And as I talked with,
Shouldn't it be more detailed then?
Yeah. Yeah,
what detail are we looking
We're
for?
talking about $50,000.
the all-around home improvement is written better, and it's R13, which happens to be code. R 7.5 is not. So, but that's not the lowest bid.
I also have a question, and it may be on here and I may not understand it, but with you being a contractor, the drywall,
Mhm.
my feelings are that halfway up the wall or whatever should be a water resistant drywall or something of that sorts, because I'll tell you what, it's damp down there all the time.
Yeah, we have talked about that.
I know it's more of an expense, but
I believe.
Would it be more beneficial to have asked to have the specific specs of what we expected?
Well, both contractors that I met with and they came over and looked at it, they're both done municipalities before. They're both very familiar. Obviously, the one quote is a little more detailed. I see that.
We've gotten into trouble before where if it's not detailed enough, then the low bid ends up being much higher. So that's something that has to be considered in this, that it truly should be spelled out. So that there's no question of,
Well, I do know the conversation of green drywall on the back wall was brought up, as well as the insulating factor. Because that's on that wall, we talked about obviously that's all got to completely come down. They said a possible way to save costs going forward, depending on what the code would be, was for the rest of the room where the water damage was to go halfway up the wall. They said, these are the quotes as per, so it was apples to apples. Obviously, anything we want to do, any changes we want to make, we could certainly, review and go back to them with that. And I know both of these contractors and I know their work, and it stands well. It stands the test of time. These are not fly-by-nights.
Well, like you said, you were talking about the insulation. Doesn't seem like much, but in the long run, if it's cheaper, it's not good for the other guy to say, well, I'm gonna put in R13, and these guys are doing R7.5. It should be, and I want to see it fixed too, because it's been sitting there for as long as it has, and the problems we've gone through. But also in the long run, if it comes down to it, especially with it being 50K, questions are going to be asked, and all of a sudden this one comes in at 53 or 54 or 55 because, it's just hard to do. It needs to be done without a doubt, and you don't want to put it off. I understand that.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I didn't catch that, the difference in the insulation. Until I didn't catch it before, because I finally got this other quote very late in the party, and I was asking for it for weeks. That's the other thing that potentially concerns me with timeline. This first quote from RS Lindsay, timeline was to jump on it right away. This one that I got in late from All Around, he wasn't sure when he could start. That was my concern as to how long was it going to take to get started, how long was it going to take to get finished. I think that's a question that needs to be posed, is the timeline. I mean, they're both very similar, and I certainly think that between the two, they're both competent.
I don't think we're questioning the competence of
No,
either
not at all.
contractor.
No.
It's just,
Because we deal with very competent contractors, but it's just something that's come up in the past before.
I'm concerned
With
that
large.
that the insulation is not code, which they should know. And I'm concerned that it's not more detailed, similar to All Around in what they're doing. And I wonder if that went to R13, would the prices be the same? And they're hardly different. $3,000.
What's your recommendation, Bud? What vendor are you most comfortable with?
That's the thing. I know both contractors personally, and I'm very comfortable with both of their work.
So you think,
I don't have a preference. I really don't. I mean, either one, I would be fine with.
Yeah, but as it stands right now, we're stuck with the lowest bid, right? Isn't that the way it's supposed to, from what Art said, that you're supposed?
Yes,
you
but
should-
it's
we should-
not, it's not.
Right, it's not
So
apples
it's
to
not
apples.
apples to apples, so that's something.
So we really only have one bid.
So,
Yeah.
and
Well,
with
what I-
something this large, I feel like it would be
I
more
can,
beneficial. to
Can Lindsay
the
rebid
village.
it at R13?
absolutely. I mean, I could make
And
a,
they're,
Because I don't,
I don't know what
There
meeting
was not-
protocol is. I could text them right now and see what their answer is to that. I mean,
would have to be, if we're gonna do it, would have to be in writing.
And here,
Mhm.
these
Yeah,
have to-
So,
yeah.
So,
these have to be
But we can meet again next week.
denied,
Yeah,
and then you'd have to make sure that the actual.
well, the other
specs-
thing is too, it gives you a chance to ask them about the green water, that kind of stuff. Those are small things, but as long as I've been in the fire department over there, it's always been soggy downstairs, and it would just, I think,
I just feel, I mean, if Kevin, he knows exactly what is code and what isn't, and what it's what's required. So if he sets up a checklist that they have to sign and agree that all of those items
Right.
are gonna be taken care of. Maybe that's another additional.
So is there any way if we don't push it out a week, if you call the guy right now and just have him, comment on the phone that he'll do the upgraded installation and the other piece that Bill was talking, I just hate to push it another week after waiting as long as we've been.
Yeah.
We still don't know, so we also have to discuss the financial part of it. That, you know,
That's up to the insurance company and that sort of thing at this point in time, as far as I'm concerned. We know we got an insurance claim. We know we're gonna get it. We need to go forward on this. What the biggest problem I see with our board right now is that all we do is rework, and wait.
we're on the topic of this though, and we're trying to find a way to move forward.
And I agree. I don't have a problem with either of those estimates, and I don't have a problem with getting a hold of the guy right now and seeing if he can comment on it. And if we need both of them, then we can just go ahead and do it.
We really need it in writing.
So
Okay.
can we actually pass it if the gentleman comments on the phone pending getting the chosen quote in writing instead of pushing another week?
How quick will he respond to you in writing?
I will make that text right now.
Or call?
Yeah, just call him. Then it's on recording. That's why we have this.
Steven, hello, how are you? I'm at a board meeting, you're on recording, just so you know. We're looking over your quote, and in your quote, you've got install 7.5 board with the new drywall that has to be R13 to code. On your quote, you have 7.5 insulating board, and it has to be.
Yeah, so it's 7.5 continuous insulation. Continuous would be like a blanket.
Mhm.
So, or cavity is equal to R13. So R13 cavity is what we're
And this
looking
is
for.
cavity
This
because
is
it's
cavity
furnace strips.
because you
They're
have
saying
furnace strips.
it's R13 cavity because we're turning the furnace strips.
Or continuous 7.5.
Or
if he wants to do
or continuous 7.5.
Why don't we have him zoom right into the meeting?
Or put it on speakerphone
Uh,
even?
Also, the drywall downstairs on that back wall, as we discussed, it's not in your quote as it being green board. Yo, okay. Because what we're trying to do is we're actually voting on it right now in the meeting, and yours and the other quote are very similar, but there's a couple things, that was one or two things that weren't called out.
And then the timeline too.
Yeah. Timeline, what do you guys, where are you guys at work-wise? Okay, that's fair. Okay, How soon could you update this quote and get it to me? Okay. You could have it Monday. Okay. All right, I will see what I can do with that and I will let you know, sir. All right, thank you. Bye. So you obviously heard that, he believes, I mean, they do a lot of commercial, but commercial code 7.5 continuous.
So I can, yeah, continuous, but there,
Right, fill in the pocket, he said you had to add that,
Yeah,
right, to
I had
double
to
up
add
in the
that,
pockets,
yeah.
so. He said he can update that, and as far as the green board we discussed, he said he just missed it when he was quoting it, he goes, that's absolutely, but, you know, he says, he didn't call it out on there, he just missed the MR board. Said he could have it rewritten, he's 3 hours away, he said he could have it rewritten and, back to us on Monday.
Okay. So why don't we plan to talk about it Wednesday?
No, I
How early?
no. Approve this estimate with RS Lindsay effective Monday with the 3 changes that are mentioned and recorded on this Zoom call to the tune of $49,629.91.
That's completely illegal.
You can't, we can't do that. We're not going to do that.
It's completely illegal.
No.
Tell me why.
Honestly, these are all over 20. Are you gonna listen?
Listen,
These are all over $20,000. Our procurement policy says any purchase over $20,000 requires a written bid spec and sealed bids. I
so
spent
that's what we're
the
gonna-
afternoon on the phone with Art trying to get around that so we could vote on these today. But without having accurate information and common specs, we're putting ourselves in danger by voting.
I asked over 2 months ago, should we be putting this in the paper? And should we be putting this out there for bid? And I was told no. And now you're telling us just the opposite.
I didn't dream it was over $20,000. I don't know what anybody else thought, but I didn't dream it was that much money. We did not spend that last time.
And-
once-
and that's-
once
there's-
it comes in, then you have to, that's what happens. You have to just make the changes and you have to
We,
you have to
Very
act
beginning.
accordingly.
the very beginning, I asked to bring an architect in
Mhm.
and make a big bid spec at the
Mhm.
very beginning of all of it. I hit a brick wall, so I don't know if that's what we're doing right now, but just as a heads up, I did ask for that at the very beginning.
we
Then you're telling them exactly what we.
for last project that was done, from Mark or Mike, I can't remember his name, Goin, whoever did it. We never saw any of the papers on this at all. This is the first time it's ever been put out in the open. We don't even know what we spent on that, nor do the fire company.
It was-
As a matter-
It was $7,000. I just looked it up. It's 7,000.
7,000, you've got holes in the wall. The door buck was done wrong going downstairs. There's rot on the windowsills that were just put in.
So do we want to rush into the next?
Nobody's
item?
arguing that
Just saying,
these are bad people. And I'm not saying you have to put a bid spec out, but I'm saying we have to have bids that match, quotes that match. Like for like, that's all. And I think if he makes those changes, we'll have that.
I move that we accept it the way it is and then we tweak it with him. That's how you would do it normally. I've seen that right along. That's legal. I move that we approve I withdraw the old motion and I move that we approve the estimate for RS Lindsay Inc. to the tune of $49,629.91.
Is there any second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No,
All opposed?
I think it needs to be done, there's no doubt, but between 7,000 and 50,000 is a lot of money.
So that dollar amount is what so.
That's it.
That's it.
What was
We're
done
not
before,
paying-
Bill, wasn't done at rate.
So.
It was
I
done by a
understand that.
single individual.
And that's okay, I understand that, but
It did not have the prevailing wage or any of that. I mean, this has everything. We never saw insurance forms for it. We never saw anything. And it was done wrong and it blew up the next year.
All right, we now have two HVAC quotes. Again, they're very different. One doesn't really follow everything we said we wanted to do. One does. Although I don't understand what they're putting in for the heating units off the boiler. I know they're removing what's there today. I just don't know what an FCU is, I guess.
Is an FCU a split system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the ductless mini splits, or if you will.
Yep,
So that's
okay.
all they're doing, or are they also hooking the boiler up? Because I saw something in here about hooking the boiler up as a backup. That's not here?
Right, yeah, again, this is, so is it the same? Are
No,
these
they're
the same?
completely
Okay.
different.
Right,
I
this
just
one,
wanted
this one from Nodines, I don't
I was just
understand
gonna
that
say
system
that.
at
Oh,
all.
I just thought.
So again, these are two different quotes, so it's totally different information. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what we're doing.
And I do have a call on the Triton. I think he's on vacation. I'm not sure. I have not been able to reach him. Because Kevin had reached out to me on the model numbers of the ductless mini splits.
Because not all the information and detail is there, right?
Well, it's just the
It's
model
just
number. I don't know what the
so-
model number is.
So it makes it,
That's an exclusion. So he's not removing the radiators in his quote, and none of these other contractors are removing the radiators.
Right, it was for in-house to remove those because we weren't sure. The other contracts, we weren't sure what was gonna be done with the mechanical side of it. So we couldn't quote that in the one side of it because we didn't know what's gonna happen with it. And the same for these guys, because we weren't sure which way we were going with it, so we left it out there.
Oh,
To remove that, I mean, obviously, there's gonna be a dumpster there for debris when the interior's done, and you know, we can, I will volunteer, and I can get other volunteers to go down there and tear that system out. It's not
Yeah, it's
rocket
pretty
science. Yeah, you're taking some tin, you throw it in a dumpster, you take the copper, you cut it up, and let the fire department take it to the dump, you get a couple dollars for it, you know? Whatever makes sense, but I don't want to drag out the project and trip over a couple of
but we don't have two quotes. We have a quote for a boiler substitute, and we have a quote for
the mini splits,
mini
yeah.
splits.
Well, you met with Nodines, and I don't know where they came up with this.
Well, what you and I talked about was we would reuse the existing boiler as a backup, and we would put mini splits in as primary. So Nodines apparently doesn't do mini splits. So that quote is kind of useless. But they sent it, so I shared it.
This is the one contractor calling back, so I'm gonna take the call. Hello, Stephen.
so you really think.
Yeah, we only have one quote.
Why does it have to be the same type of a recommended system in order to qualify as a quote?
It has to be
It's
like.
just a
for
different,
like,
it's just a
price.
different recommendation.
No, they're not different recommendations.
Yes.
Nodines is part of the solution we talked about doing, and Triton is the other part of the solution we talked about doing.
Okay, yeah, just put it in writing and send it over to him.
So if we combine them, we have one
Thank you.
for $60,000, or $70,000, whatever it sums up to.
That's why I misunderstood. I thought that the wall units were gonna be the system and there wouldn't be the requirement for the boiler. And then the other scenario, they wanted to just fix the boiler. Am I wrong on that?
Yes.
So-
The boiler was gonna be used as a backup. That's the emergency shelter for Sodas Point.
Well, the other thing too, I know is that they talked about those wall units and the same with the one that's out. When it gets real cold, they become very inefficient. You know, and that's one
Right.
reason
Well-
why we've got the gas one hanging in the ambulance bay
The
still.
resume.
In this winter, we ran that quite a bit more than the wall mount because we needed the extra kick, that's all.
Right, and we were originally we had talked about electric as a backup unit
Yeah.
downstairs.
Yeah.
Which I would rather see that than the boiler, because you do have the generator, and I realize that generator
Mhm.
runs more than just that building. But in the case of an emergency, if that's, you know, where you're gonna need it, then that's
Sure.
where you need.
Sure.
And the trouble is, I've gone to many, many different people, and getting quotes in, or getting somebody that wants any part of this right now is just astronomical.
Well, what you run into is that you run into people that have given quotes before and never gotten a bid, and the first thing they do is tell you that.
Yeah, but we've already passed a bid to get the rooms taken care of.
Right.
So this is less urgent because we're gonna need warm weather.
Right.
How old is that boiler down there? I mean, they've got boilers now that are.
Yeah, it's over
I-
30, it's over 30 years old.
I was gonna say, I thought around 30, but
And in regard to the money, I recall last year that we put around $50,000 out of the extra money that we had into the fund for specifically for the fire hall, because we didn't do anything. So the money is there for some of this.
There is a bid spec currently out for the steel repair on the front doors that we will vote on at the April meeting.
Okay,
Has been bid out, and that's out in the public, and hopefully we'll get some bids back soon.
and we sent out a notice to the local people on that too, right?
Yes, it's on our bulletin
As
board. It was in this week's Times. It's advertised at the Builders Exchange, on the Dodge reports, all over the place.
Okay. And it's on the website?
Yes,
Thank you.
So it sounds like we need more quotes. Is that what your recommendation is?
we certainly do, and I don't know who put the current mini splits in, but we should call them.
I called him, he came out, he looked at everything, came back and was told he had to quote it at rate. He said he will not quote because he didn't have to do it that way last time. I'm speaking his words, not mine.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right.
Yeah, I mean, he just put those in last year. I'm just, you know, it's not like this has been a long time. I'm just telling you what was told to me. Like I said, I spent an hour and a half with him there, going over everything.
Because I think there's room in those outdoor units for more splits from what he said when he put them in.
that's what he told us.
Yeah, he did. But once again, I don't have that technical information because
He
he
didn't get
decided,
back to you.
he says, I'm not going to quote it because of the rate. And I don't have any control over that. You know, if somebody says
No.
they're gonna no quote, then I
No.
respect his decision and move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's actually the first person, first contractor that I reached out to, figuring he knew the building, knew the layout, knew what was going on. He'd be the most
Yeah,
likely candidate to want to quote it.
Sure.
yeah, and if in fact his equipment can be added onto, we'd be the cheapest. All right, so your plan is to go with mini splits only now?
My original thought, but once again, I'm not a heating contractor. My original thought was to go with the mini splits and have an electric baseboard backup on thermostat style. That was what my thought process was. Being that, you know, the generator's there, so that runs the electric back. If you have that problem, the mini splits, if you add that many more units to it, it should maintain that level.
And the generator's a 40 kW, so it's, you know, that was put in when we, years ago when we had the problems.
Yeah.
They lost the other contractor. So,
And you could run that electric system on a very low end, you know what I'm saying? You know, set it at 50 degrees, so if the weather does turn brilliantly bad for a week or two, you wouldn't freeze the place.
Right.
That was my thought. Once again, I'm not a HVAC contractor, so that's why I reached out to these guys, figuring they know a lot more than I do.
So I could tell you from the fire department's point of view, and definitely mine, is I would like to get away from the boiler system. Obviously I have PTSD because of this thing now. And, you know, this is, you know, twice that this thing's, you know, failed in 2 different places. Although boiler systems are nice, I would also probably I would recommend wanting to go with the split systems and then the electric baseboard to be able to maintain a heat in case of an emergency, or that little extra for the amount that, you know, it does get used during the winter down there. And so that's just my perspective on it.
I don't think there's any pushback, Chuck,
Yeah.
on that. I think the issue is we just need quotes.
No, yeah, but and I think it was said, I jumped in just a touch bit late, but you know, I think it was the mayor who said it, that we have, you know, right now we probably have maybe 6 months to really knock down and lock up the HVAC side of this. It's the repairs to get it to where, you know, the space is usable within this time frame. That's our biggest concern. So, you know, and again, I appreciate everybody coming together on a Friday for this. This is you know, especially that this is the second time around for this. And, you know, let's all stay on the same page and really try to, you know, hunker down on this, on the repairs. That is that is a crucial. We have time for the heating system. We have time for that. I don't want to get forgotten about, but we have time for it. And we can figure out.
We're losing you, Chuck.
Yeah.
We-
you know.
We approved the contract for the repairs, Chuck. I know you're traveling, so I don't know if you heard that or not.
It's coming in and out.
Getting away from.
I did get,
And again, without a doubt, and
Yeah.
I'm all for.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. Where I was hung
Yeah.
up is we talked about that as a backup.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to electric heat as long as it's not used much.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna have the meter.
Yeah,
crazy.
spinning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
And the
you
liquid cool.
you gotta stay financially, you know,
Yeah.
responsible with it. I agree 100%.
Well, I make a motion that we work on getting a quote on the baseboard part of it.
Just table.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, okay.
And we really need
We table it.
some comprehensive quotes.
Yeah, it's,
For the heat part of it.
I'm not opposed to that I'll go back to
Okay.
Triton at No Dines, and I don't know anything of this guy, but we'll go back to them and say, listen, this here's our spec, we want to requote this.
Yeah.
So we have a spec
Well, I
for
don't want to set it up the first time, so, or we can work together.
Okay,
And find
yeah,
out.
and I'd like to get back a hold of Dishaw as well and see,
Yeah.
you know, maybe his thought pattern.
Was it
It was Dishaw.
Dishaw.
It was Terry Dishaw.
Yeah, Terry Dishaw.
Did you talk to them or did Joe?
I didn't.
Can you call them up?
Well, yeah, that's why I say I'll work with Bud on that.
Okay.
We'll work with it and
Yeah, because he works at ARC, Dishaw's in ARC all the time,
yeah,
so
that's
That-
really,
we'll handle it.
why he wanted to figure out why, you know, things
Yeah.
were different. And
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I'm going by the parameters I'm given. I don't make the rules, I just play with them.
Okay.
Yeah, Lori, you're trying to say something, I think.
Yeah, I just, is there a spec for this? Because I have a couple of people that I know of that are pretty good in heat and plumbing from that area too, if you need some more quotes.
Give my number, tell them to call.
Yeah, you'd have to figure the square footage up and what it would heat it, and then go from there with it.
That's it.
Tom Piconka, he does that, I mean,
Yeah.
he's in HVAC up the yin yang and for big buildings and that, I'm not saying we need to use him, but, he's got a couple people that but that's all they do is they figure the square footage and that kind of thing, so. Yeah. Okay,
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Bye.
Aye.